Hey guys, I'm Jackie Brubaker, your host of That Girl the Podcast. I'm an author, performer, 2-time Emmy Award winner, human relationship specialist, and founder of the wellness website loveyouevenmore.com. Each week I bring on inspiring people and experts in their field to have powerful, motivational, and enlightened conversations about relationships, self-development, and how you can live your most authentic life. Follow us for daily updates on myself and the podcast at That Girl the Podcast and at Jackie Brubaker on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and our Patreon page. While you're at it, make sure to check out my new wellness website, loveyouevenmore.com. If you're wanting to dig into developing more self-worth, be healthier about relationships, and learn how to date smarter, go to loveyouevenmore.com and follow us on Instagram at loveyouevenmore. Welcome, Barry Selby, to That Girl the Podcast. Today, we are going to talk about codependency, amongst a few other things. Barry, it's always my favorite topic. Barry is a love and relationship expert. He's also a spiritual advisor. We're going to talk about that as well. But we're really going to get into codependency, what that looks like, what it is, and how to try to be less codependent in our relationship. So, Barry, welcome. I always like to let people give a little bit of an intro on themselves, even though I gave you a little bit of an intro. I feel that they can always do a better job than I can. So please take the mic.
Okay, grab the mic. So yes, I mean, love and relationship is my passion. It's my work. It's my focus. I've got a book on Amazon that's been a bestseller that's done really well called 50 Ways to Love Your Lover. But I mean, I've been on my own path spiritually and personal growth-wise for the 30-something years. But my relationships didn't always match the quality of stuff I'd learned, which is one of the things I had to talk about and do my work. I would have great relationships, then they fall apart because I didn't realize there was stuff in there that even though I'd done all this personal work, I started issues in relationship, which is one of the challenges. And so I've been really passionate about masculine and feminine because that was the one piece that changed my life and all my relationships. And actually, it's what put me in this path. One of my descriptors is I talk about I'm a passionate champion for the divine feminine. Because starting to do this work with masculine and feminine polarity, my first exposure to the truly authentic masculine inside of me and the truly authentic feminine in all the women was a deep reverence for what the feminine energy is. And I want to support that and serve that on the planet. It's my calling in life, so to speak.
Oh, that's amazing. That's an amazing calling, especially as a man trying to honor the divine feminine. That is a term that has been starting to get a lot more notice, and I keep seeing it a lot, which is great because I've been very interested in sort of studying the masculine feminine for a really, really long time, at least 10 years. And I do think that it can be misconstrued and thought of differently. So let's actually talk about that really quickly because that is such an important thing. Explain what your views and opinions of like the divine feminine are, and then the divine masculine, because that's a thing too.
Right. Yeah, indeed. It's the yin and yang of the polarity. And I talk about polarity because, like any other thing, there's a spectrum. We reside somewhere on that spectrum between masculine and feminine that is independent of our gender and independent of our sexual preference, just to be transparent. Because masculine and feminine polarity is what creates attraction, whether you're heterosexual or homosexual or gay, whatever that is.
Right.
And because we carry it all inside ourselves, and we do move along that spectrum during the day. So if you're driving, you're generally towards the masculine side of the spectrum because it's directional, it's focused, it's like one direction. But if you're juggling lots of things, or if you're taking care of like a baby, or do something that's more energy, that's movement energy, that's more feminine, so to speak. So it isn't tied to being male or female or whatever that is. But for me, what really transformed, and a quick story was my last big bad breakup.
There's always one. There's always a big bad breakup.
Well, the thing was, it wasn't the worst. Well, it wasn't actually the worst, but it was the third in a row. So it was the cumulative energy of the other two that made it even worse.
Oh, interesting.
Because she basically called me out. The other two breakups happened, and I didn't know why. Looking back, I now see why, but they didn't explicitly tell me. The third one was kind enough to lambast me with what was wrong.
What did she say?
She said that she wanted me to be the real man like her grandfather was.
And as a man, that must have felt really good.
It was really depleting. But the funny thing is, I met her when she was going through a divorce. And her soon-to-be ex-husband, he and I become good friends, and he and I were very similar. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Uh-huh.
So she was attracting a man like her ex-husband. I wonder what was going on. But the thing is, it was so overt because her physical type, she was very petite, short hair. She was very, very boyish, energetic, the way she looked, which is kind of funny. I don't know what was attracting me to her. Probably karmic energy or something.
Sure.
I mean, the sex was amazing too, but it's like, but she ran the show through the whole relationship.
Yeah.
Because when we got together, she asked me out. I mean, every indication was so like big signs, and I was ignoring everything. I was like, this is so cool. I don't mind being asked out. It's wonderful.
Right. It's equal now. Like we'll both do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is that in total self transparency, I got really lazy in the relationship. I didn't take charge. I didn't lead, do any of that stuff because one, she was running it so well. I was like, I don't have to do anything. And secondly, she didn't really provide much room for me to do it without me fighting her for it. Yeah. And a lot of women have this issue because they get so much in the masculine, they don't know how to disengage comfortably. So when a man shows up who's more of a masculine man, or masculine energy than she has, it must be a struggle for the leadership. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that happened for me. So after we broke up and I was going through the pit of like, why me? What did I do wrong? All this stuff that was going on for me.
Yeah.
And I knew enough stuff to go, I know this stuff, but I'm still missing the point. What am I missing?
Yeah.
It's about 3 months later, I was coming out of my spiritual center and I bumped into this beautiful blonde woman I'd never met before. And beautiful women would tongue tie me usually. Uh-huh. But I had to talk to her. There was like a neon sign over her head saying, talk to this woman because she was glowing. She was blonde, blue-eyed, white dress, tan. I mean, absolutely picture of like California beautiful woman.
Yeah.
So I went up to her and clumsily, because that's what I could do at the time, was say, hi, you're glowing. Where have you been? Something like that. Literally, that's silly because that's what's true for me.
Yeah.
Thankfully, she burst out laughing and started talking. But she just got back from a retreat where she'd been doing work with the masculine and feminine energy, which was the first time I actually heard it. Okay. I didn't know what it was at that point because I just thought what my ex-girlfriend at that point was asking was to be macho. And I absolutely deplored what macho meant to me because it's so destructive and it's so selfish, and not selfish in a healthy way, selfish in a destructive way. So when I went to this retreat, there was the teachers whom I love dearly, Satyan and Suzanne Raja out of Vancouver, a company called Warrior Sage. They were doing a training based on David Data's work. I also studied with since. David Data is one of the pillars of the masculine and feminine conversation. I also started with Alice Armstrong, John Gray, all these teachers who talk about this stuff, which I love.
Yeah, right.
And basically what I discovered was I had been abdicating my role as a masculine man. But as soon as I did that, it's like my life changed internally because I'd always been questing for something out there. I mean, we'll get to codependency soon.
Right.
But I've been looking out there for that thing that would make me feel okay. And I knew that I couldn't be the macho man because that was my dad's role. And I rebelled against that when I was a kid. But the only other choice I had in my head, because there were two choices, macho man, like the bad guy, and the nice guy.
Yeah.
And I've been playing nice guy for 20 plus years at this point, no more than that.
And what was nice guy? Like, explain nice guy. What
nice guy
like?
is generally, and I'm exaggerating a little bit, but being very polite, overtly, not looking for challenge, always trying to keep the peace, always wants to be accepted, but also doesn't want to risk being outspoken. And it comes to the relationships, it's almost like I guess the term they use is milk toast. It's that very bland and really not a very dynamic energy relationship.
Right. Yeah.
And I did that myself. I'm not proud of that experience, but I did that.
That's okay. You were coming from a place of different childhood experiences and you found that was a safe place. So yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and of course, just to embellish that, right? I don't want to exaggerate it, but I was bullied in high school by other boys because I didn't stand up and tough it out.
Yeah.
It was being tough, put me in that mindset, being macho, and I couldn't do that.
Sure.
So I ended up taking the blows from them, so to speak, which really didn't help. But the thing was, what it did help me do, though, was find safety amongst the girls.
Right.
And in fact, that's what's really been my one thing through my whole life has always had a closeness with women, not sexually speaking, but as friends, which actually made the nice guy easier. Because being the nice guy, women are like, oh, we can trust him because he's not going to threaten us. He's not going to be coming on to us. He's all that stuff.
Right.
It also made my relationships kind of weak as well, just to be transparent.
Sure.
So anyway, in the process of this weekend event is what started it. We went through practices. We do dialogue and practices in the room. Then we break away to the men in one room, women in another, and deepen into masculine, feminine, energetic practices. So we come back stronger and deeper as we came back. And by the end of the weekend, on the last break, we came in the room. Instead of sitting on the floor facing the stage, we stood in a line facing each other, like 50 men, 50 women. And we, at this point, were really getting strong in brotherhood and solidarity and holding a masculine heart, which was a new expression for me. Yeah. I've done a lot of heart work, but really what the masculine work for me is adding a strong spine to that.
Okay.
There's a difference between me, macho and masculine. Macho is kind of neck up. It's ego-driven, controlling, so self-centered. It's like my way, the highway, nobody else wins unless I win first.
Right.
Whereas the masculine is a strong spine, which is direction, clarity, and purpose, with an open heart for compassion and caring. Mm-hmm. So it's not a steamroller. It's an effective direction to go in, but it's in service to the world. It's like having a calling greater than my own success, so to speak.
That is a beautiful way of putting it. And that makes so much sense. Like, women, listen to him. This is so big. And men, listen to him, because, oh gosh, I have so much to say, but I want to have you keep going. But this is so important. A masculine man, a divinely masculine man, is compassionate, does have a heart, does care, is not trying to steamroll. That's a perfect way of putting it, but is also very strong in their own convictions and doesn't sway. It's just like, we are leading. And also, I think a lot of women get really freaked out by the word leader. Like, I don't want my husband to be a leader. Like, we should lead together. Like, well, then where are you going to go? Like, who? It's too much. But like, at different times, like, you have to be more in your masculine or your feminine. But to be as a man in your divine masculine, again, you're being open, but you are definitely sure of yourself, which, yes, we'll talk more about. So keep going.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So anyway, so we're standing facing each other. The men are in a masculine, women in the feminine. And we as men, at least I speak of myself, we were very rock solid in who we are, because we knew at this point what it felt like. We had viscerally embodied that feeling through the whole weekend. And what's interesting is the women across from me weren't doing that, of course. They were embodying their feminine. Mm. And when I looked across the room at the other women, probably 10 feet, it was like 10 feet across, but it could have been miles. It was such a overt difference. Mm-hmm. I saw this wall of femininity facing me. And even though I was standing strong I was braced strong in my heart, in my depths, in my feet, into the earth, I was on my knees in worship at the same time, because I saw the radiance of the light, the feminine, just overwhelm me in such a beautiful way. And it was like inside something clicked on, was that I'm dedicated to that energy ever since. That's the feminine energy for me.
Right.
And that's one reason why I'm so clear about my work, but also why I love women when they own their femininity. Yeah. That's a different energy, because most women have not necessarily glimpsed that or don't think about that, because the world doesn't support it very well yet.
No, it does not. It has been forcing us to let that go. Yeah. So I love that visual too, of just like looking at this wall of femininity and just wanting to be on my knees to worship it, to honor it. Because I think in my idea of this, excuse me, is if you are a masculine enough man and you know your convictions, but you also see the beauty of what this goddess energy is, right? This like divinely feminine energy. Sorry, hold on. Let me get this. Hello.
Getting choked up.
Back. There we go. I'm so upset. But then in the same token, the divine feminine looks at the divine masculine and thinks, I feel safe. You will make me feel secure. My heart can rest in your hands. And it's not about, oh, you can take care of me financially. It's, you can take care of my heart and I can feel vulnerable enough to give it to you, and vice versa. It's just an honoring of each other in a very balanced way, but in very different ways. Like go. A couple of things I want to add to just to illustrate that. One of the things I learned from one of my teachers, Alison Armstrong, who I love, I'm actually in one of her programs right now, that is next level. She keeps one of the things I love about Alison, she's constantly learning new things and adding new things to her curriculum, which I love. Keeps me going as well. Mm-hmm. But she talks about for a truly masculine man, although she calls it human animal versus human spirit, but the way that she explains it is that when a woman gets upset, I've actually affirmed it now, there's 3 ways a man can do it wrong. When a woman gets upset, like a woman's upset and her boyfriend or her partner can do 3 things definitely that don't work. One of which is to run away when she's upset. 2 is to try and fix it without permission. Permission's key. And 3 is to almost argue over the top to dominate her, to push her down. Mm. Actually, 4th one is to deny it. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that what she says is that the job for us, when a woman's truly upset,
is to imagine that we are holding a bucket that she's throwing up into. Now, this visual was so powerful for me because I viscerally got it.
Yeah.
If we try to fix it, resolve it, it's like trying to pour it back in again.
Oh, wow.
When a woman is venting and upset, it's almost like she's excavating her body of all that toxicity. Mm-hmm. And our job is not to fix that. Our job is to let it come through, but also not to get out of the way, but to hold the space so she can do it safely. Again, like you said, being the safe container.
Yeah.
And so that piece was such a game changer for me because I never grew up with that understanding because I come from a family where we didn't argue. So arguments meant the end of a relationship in my experience for a long time. Mm-hmm. That's another piece about upbringing as well. But the thing was, that was a big, deep learning. The second piece I want to quickly jump into, because this thing that comes up a lot in terms, is toxic masculinity doesn't fit for me. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. Toxic machoism is what people are really talking about.
Yeah.
Because the toxicity is in that egoic, my way, the highway, screwed up society. Yeah. Masculinity as itself is never toxic because it is about service and a purpose-driven, not selfish energy.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. That's so great. And I'm so glad you're talking about this because that is such a good baseline for going into codependency because I think so many people have no idea they're codependent. They just think, oh, this is the way love works, or this is relationship, or these are family dynamics. This is just the way family works. And that's not true. So, and also, you can go to the extreme too, where you're like, well, I'm going to put up all of these boundaries and like, they're not the right boundaries to be setting. You're just trying to feel some kind of power. You're like, I've heard this trendy word boundary and I heard it's just to say no. So I'm just going to say no. And that's not helpful. So why don't you explain codependency in regards to the divine masculine and feminine? This is the best conversation. I'm so happy to be talking to you.
So I'm enjoying it too. Thank you for inviting me. The challenge is that for many women, especially, they have been trained not to trust men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're scary and they can kill us. Absolutely.
Exactly that. And on top of that, a lot of women have got their wiring set up because the way the world is set up for us as people, the way I describe it is the business world was created by men for men, and women have been trying to fit in ever since. So many women have been trained to be more male energy focused, how to do their work.
Yeah.
Which is what is their ability to take care of themselves and protect themselves and support themselves. And when they get into a relationship, they want a man's going to take it away from them. So of course they don't trust that.
Yeah.
And so the masculine focus, and by the way, the business world isn't created for masculinity either. It's actually created for machoism, just like ego-driven competition, win, I win, you lose. It's not win-win. Which is why I think there will be a paradigm shift at some point where there'll be an evolution for both men and women to own masculine and feminine energies in the business world as well. We're doing it in the private world more, but it's the business world that has to shift. So the challenge, and I've had the experiences been interesting around when I've been around women who are either in their I'll say macho more than masculine, because it's not masculine energy. It's again, back they're training to a copy of the man. And I said, my last relationship, bad breakup, was with a woman who basically asked me out. She led the way. She did the male thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, even her hair was short. It's like, so overtly, she was like being male in her energetic. Mm-hmm. But maybe it's because she was Scorpio, I was a Pisces. There's a lot of energy there because we have the great. I'm a Pisces. So there's a lot of chemistry there.
Match. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go on that part. It's enough conversation entirely. However,
we can have that conversation another time, Rob.
But the recognition that we have a different way of being in relationship and in every relationship, not just romantic, but every relationship, how women can still be feminine in relationship, men can be masculine in relationship, which is an evolution for both of us. And again, let me back up one quick second. These terms I'm using are very generalized. So I'm saying men and women as masculine and feminine interchangeably, but there are women who are naturally more masculine and the men who are naturally more feminine as well. Just to be clear, it's not saying everybody is. Right, generalize. Right. Yeah. So just get that on the table. Because, male and female are types of gender, whereas masculine and feminine are energetic types. So just be clear what the difference is. And one of the things with codependency is that we forget that role. So we're trying to compete for the same space on the table, and we're both trying to be in the leadership role, and it's not healthy. Mm-hmm. And the challenge with that also, and this is the other part, is that masculine on its own is complete, and so is feminine on its own is complete. But because most people don't understand either one of those, they feel like they're lacking something, almost innately. So looking for somebody else or something else to fill them up because they think they're incomplete. And to quote Jerry Maguire, my favorite movie for this point, is when he says, "You complete me," it's the most succinct way of saying, "I'm codependent. How about you?"
Right.
There is.
I know. It is the most codependency movie. Yes.
And the thing is, in that movie, it still looks like, strong leadership and everything else, except when it gets to the relationship. And like in my last relationship, she came up and asked me out because I was in leadership roles. She thought I was being masculine. I wasn't, because I didn't have a clue what it was. And she took over that space right away. And had I been in my masculine, first of all, I would have asked her out first. I would have taken the lead, not to be like macho, but to be like, no, the masculine energy leads.
Yeah.
And the feminine energy doesn't follow blindly. No, far from it. Mm-mm. The feminine energy dances with the masculine energy. That's the wonderful thing about the feminine. It's an energy that's such creativity. They say that men focus on the destination, women focus on the journey. Mm-hmm. That's actually true in a way, because masculine are goal oriented. So when they know, where are we going? Okay, how do we get? And we get there. The feminine's like, well, look at everything along the journey, what we can explore, what we can play with and have fun with.
Yeah.
It's something the feminine is gifted with, because the feminine energy is more, as Alison Armstrong calls it, like diffuse awareness, to be able to see many things at once. Mm-hmm. Whereas the masculine is oblivious to everything except the one thing they're focusing on.
That's so true. They're so one-track minded.
Yeah, which is healthy for us.
Right. And so just to reiterate what you just said, basically when the feminine is able to play and to feel all of the feelings, right? Just be enjoying life, the pleasure of it. We only feel that way with a partner because they give us the strength. It's not that we need the strength. It's not that. It's that they're leading and we feel safe to let them lead. And then we can just feel all of the feelings and do all the fun. But because women are so inherently pushed to be masculine now, we get scared. We're like, oh, no. Where are you taking me? This feels crazy and I need to be in control and I don't trust anybody because all of these guys let me down, which is a whole series of issues going on with dating right now. But, that's just too much for one episode. There will be many episodes with Barry. I just want to say that right now.
Okay.
Don't worry.
That's good.
I'm glad. See, I'm taking the masculine role. We are leading. You are coming back.
It's your podcast. You get to choose.
Yeah, there you go. Then I am being very, very feminine. But that is what's up. That is so what's happening with women. When they feel safe, they will go, because it's, again, you're not following blindly. You're always checking in, are they living up to what they need to be living up to? Are they leading correctly? Are they, appreciating me, valuing me? Are they nurturing, not nurturing, but are they just taking care of you? And in a mental, emotional, and physical way, are you safe? Because again, it always comes right back to, I've had conversations with men my own age where they're just kind of confused why you would feel unsafe walking down the street at night by yourself. It's because you could be raped or killed or both. That is what we were raised to know. And it happens all the time because most men are animals. So we're just scared. So then you get us into a relationship with, a stranger. It's I'm going to be a little bit show me.
Prove trust to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing, because the masculine is about creating safe spaces. We take risks, but not for other people. We take risks for ourselves. Mm. So the masculine, when it truly is, and it's interesting because back to the codependency piece for a moment, one of the things I went through for many years was I was so clear that my relationship was my priority. I put her first no matter what, which is actually wrong. It's incorrect. Because, and the way I've described it, one of my other teachers, David Data, has a book out called The Way of the Superior Man. And chapter 7, because I remember the chapter vividly, talks about how a man's purpose must come before his relationship. Mm. And I never had a purpose before. I've been through 6-7 careers at this point and didn't know why I was here. Why I do the work I do is because it's my calling, it's my heart's work. And the reality is that's what I would do. And ideally, I make all my money doing it. But if not, I'll do something else to make money. But this is still my purpose. Because the other thing is, purpose is not always about career.
Yes.
Or for me, it is. It also means that relationship, people say, well, how can they put relationship second? You don't put relationship second. It's no, what it does, it takes the pressure of purpose off the relationship. So relationship be free on its own. I personally, though, because of my spiritual path, say that relationship comes third, in a sense, because my relationship to spirit comes first before everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Then relationship to the world, which is purpose, and then relationship to my partner, so that all those other things can be taken care of, so I can be fully dedicated to my partner in that space.
Right. You can be balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. So agreed. And I think people are so guilty of putting their relationship first and forgetting about their career, forgetting about their hobbies, forgetting about their friends and their family. And they're just like, I'm just in love and I'm on this chemical cocktail and it's just amazing. And then months later they wake up and they're like, oh, it's gotten kind of like boring in my relationship. What are the rest of my life? And it's like a catch-up game and trying to balance. But I mean, sometimes I really just feel like this is an age thing, you know, like when you're young, it's really difficult to grasp this stuff. So for the young people listening, I hope you are grasping it because it's important stuff.
If I learned this 20 years before, I'd be so much happier. But of course, then I wouldn't have actually known what to do with it. So sometimes this work has to work with maturity, because then you go, okay, I made enough mistakes. I'm going to change now. So most people when they're younger don't think they made any mistakes.
Yes. I certainly thought I didn't make a lot of mistakes, but then I did.
Welcome to the human race.
Right. Seriously. Oh, gosh. So let's talk about codependency. And when I think of it, I always think of like filling each other's cup, right? You know, your cup is already empty. You're looking for someone to fill it. And then you do. And then it just it can become very, very toxic. So
yes,
let's talk about that. How does codependency start?
Well, it usually starts before we're born, because usually our parents set the example for us, to be totally clear. Mm-hmm. In my work and in my studies, a book I love referring to is Bruce Lipton's book called The Biology of Belief. And he talks about epigenetics. He's a really wonderful speaker. I've seen him speak a few times. A wonderful guy. Very funny as well. But he talks about how our formative years from like 0 to 7 years old, first of all, we don't come in with user manuals. There's no technical how-to guide for parents how to raise a child. You know, there weren't any manuals like that. Even Dr. Spock's work was not ideally like given to everybody.
Yeah.
So the first from when born until the first 6, 7 years of life, we look at everything around us as a learning opportunity. We're sponges, like clean slates, taking everything around us in, especially the parents, the people who caregive for us, our parents usually, or grandparents or siblings. And we basically copy them as learning how to do things. You know, that's how we learn. You watch babies learn how to do things by watching their parents. That's how they learn to walk, because they're picking up ideas and following that. So most of our parents were codependent because of the way they were raised. It's like generational patterns. And what that means is that, I mean, go back 2 or 3 generations, all women were kept because the man was the breadwinner. I mean, I think it was 1971 was the first time women had credit cards.
Yeah.
Wasn't that long ago? Yeah.
No, it was not.
Well, that's the thing is, I mean, my mother's generation, you know, she didn't learn to drive. She didn't have her own bank account. They had a shared one. My dad's name was on everything. That's the way it was back then.
Yeah.
You know? And so the codependency was built into this way. It was baked into the society, the way that society functioned.
Right.
And the trouble with codependency is it's very, I want to say subversive, maybe the wrong word, but it's very it's like it's in through everything.
Yeah.
You know, visually, that's like saying put relationship first. It's like the challenge of putting relationship first is that you can't see past your partner's face. Like 2 people come together and you can't see anything besides the other person because you're nose to nose. You can't see anything. Truly evolved relationship, which is what I would call the term interdependent, which is the next level beyond, is where both people are side by side, facing the same direction and walking together. But most of us don't do that.
Yeah.
And like I said, for men who are developing the masculine, putting purpose before relationship, first of all, frees us up from putting everything on top of our partner, which makes that very codependent. Instead, we get to be free and living our life, and our partner joins us in that journey, which is wonderful. But codependency is something that we do practically because our society teaches us that. Every movie, every love song, and society's rules create codependent models for us.
Yeah.
Because they keep telling us, like, you'll be complete when you have this car, or when you wear this makeup, or have these shoes. You know, you're incomplete without them. So everything's telling us we're incomplete beings. And so we seek somebody else to make us feel whole. That "you complete me" statement is so persistent because it's the truth. You know, I mean, I remember there was a Nilsson song way back when. It's like, you know, I can't live if living was without you.
Yeah.
Oh, great. You're going to die? That's not very loving. That's the mindset. I mean, again, love songs teaching us so many times that, you know, you are the reason I'm alive. all these stuff, and which sounds, again, romantic, but unfortunately, the romantic idea is distorted through the lens of codependency.
Yeah.
And we haven't learned to say women, because of the way they were provided for and didn't provide for themselves, were never taught how to live fully on their own. So mostly for women, they've been trained to be codependent because society didn't show women any other way.
Right.
Men have been less codependent in the world, but more codependent in relationship because they had none of the skills that women had
to take care of themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most men, especially until the last maybe 20 years, most men didn't know how to cook in the kitchen. You know, they couldn't sew with a damn. I'm grateful I got raised learning how to iron my own shirts. I still do. It's like it's for me, it's a meditation. But most obviously boys and men didn't have that skill growing up, so they were forcibly codependent because they didn't learn skills for themselves until they had to. So our society has not provided a teaching or a model for what I'm calling interdependence, because the truth is, well, let me put another piece on top of this. Up until, again, 1960s, early 70s, codependency was the way of life. And for women, that forced, I would say, or that's percolated the sexual revolution of the 60s. So sexual revolution, women's liberation movement is called, feminist movement, whatever you want to call it, same thing. It was happening. Women were getting their rights back, taking leadership, grabbing the reins, saying, my life, my way of doing things. And what happened was women in the 70s and 80s became independent. Again, starting to copy the men, being in business. So they had their own bank accounts, they had their own money, they had their own apartments, their own cars. They started to have a life of their own. But they did it through the lens of acting like men. Yeah. And so when it came to dating, it was a very independent thing. It's like, who pays and who goes back to whose place, that sort of stuff. It was very independent. It wasn't codependent anymore, thank God, but it wasn't perfect either. And the truth is, interdependence is the healthy way, when we both have our own space, but then we come together for things that work for us both. So the relationship is healthy, but both partners have their own places to restore, renew. Women know they have their sisters to call on, or they go dancing to have some fun. Men know go with their brothers and go play sports and do other things, to go hiking, to put back in their masculine. There's ways that we can recharge our batteries, but that also is part of our life, so we can be interdependent when we're together, but not fixated on our own partner and anything else. Because again, for men being single focused, it's so tempting to just gaze in our partner's eyes forever, without going anywhere. I did that. It doesn't work.
And that just reminds me of, and now, of course, I'm forgetting the author, but it's a really, really, really famous book, and I can't remember it. But he goes, and I know, I listened to it on an audiobook because a therapist friend of mine suggested that I listen to it on an audiobook because there were so many great meditations. But he talks about what's happening from 0 to 7, 7 to 14, and like the different stages of childhood, basically, and what's really going on with you and why you love the way you love. And it was just mind blowing. I listened to like all 5 hours in one day. I was like, I can't stop. I just can't stop. It was beautiful. But what you're saying is, like, when you idealize your partner, all you're really doing is what babies do when they look into their mother's eyes. They're just like, Mom, yay. That's all they see. And that's what we do to our partners. And that's just not fair. Like, they cannot be your demigod. They just can't, And so all of those similar feelings that we felt as babies, the serotonin, the dopamine, all of the bonding stuff is happening because you're falling in love and you're staring deeply into someone's eyes, literally. And then you're just like, but you're my new mommy now. Like, it's so crazy. So when you understand kind of the chemical aspect of what's going on, at least logically, you can be like, okay, well, I know I feel a certain way, but like the brain also says that this is kind of what's going on. So let me just like slow my roll and I'll be okay.
Well, that's the other piece, is that, as I mentioned about the being printed from 0 to 7 years old, is that we take on these patterns of how love is expressed through the filter of what we're watching our parents do. The problem with that is we're not aware we're doing it. Our conscious mind comes online around 6, 7 years old, which is the next age stage. But all that stuff that went in is now behind that locked door. So the conscious mind is choosing to view what comes through and goes, that fits, that doesn't fit. So it's now discerning what's right, what's wrong. But unfortunately, there's 7 years of history behind that locked door that is still running the show, which is why a lot of people when they're adults wonder why they keep repeating patterns from their parents. And what happens is we tend to carry those patterns automatically into adulthood without realizing it's when we go on dating sites or dating apps to go out with somebody, we wonder why the same thing keeps showing up.
Yeah.
Well, for most of us, it's something we learned from our parents we never healed.
Right.
Doesn't matter how good the parents' relationship was, if it was abandonment and abuse, or if it was loyalty and long term. I had a very codependent upbringing in my family. And I think I shared, I showed it again. Basically, is my early dating life, every single relationship would end with an argument. Like we would argue and I quit. It was always the first argument and the only argument. And when I found what else was going on is because my parents, to my memories, for best I remember, they never argued in front of the kids. So for me, love and arguments didn't fit together. So if there's an argument, love must be gone. So I'd quit. I mean, very logical, but not very conscious. And certainly not fun because they didn't have makeup, sex, or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I can joke about it now, of course.
Right. No, but it's scary when you're having your argument and you're just like, well, this person's a horrible person. I guess I'll just break up with them. I mean, it's really easy to do that and then just get back on an app. But the other thing too, that I always think is like, yeah, you can jump back on an app, but like you said, you're just going to run into the same person. You're going to choose the same person over again. So spend a little time working on whatever it is, whether it's your stuff coming up or it's, stuff that's just relationship based, but it's always each person's childhood stuff coming up and they're like, that's why, I forget who said this, but it's such an important remembrance is that we do learn so much about ourselves when we are in relationship with others. We do. I mean, even this weekend, oh my gosh. So I've been single for a little while and I'm so happy and so content in my world. And like everything is just peachy. And my girlfriend came to spend the weekend with me and she's married. She's pregnant right now. And I was so not used to having anybody help me or do anything. And she would just like do the dishes or she would like get to something before I could literally stand up to do it. And I was like, oh, no. You don't have to do anything. And she was just being helpful. And I'm so used to carrying everything that it was like, oh, that's right. When you're in a nice partnership, you just do things for each other because you just are nice to one another. And like, that is simply what a relationship should be. We complicate it so much, but it's really just, why don't I be nice to you and you be nice to me and you just be thoughtful and most likely we'll both get each other's needs met, and it's good.
That's the ideal until it gets to the point where the kitchen trash has to go out and the wife and the woman is expecting the man to take care of it and he's oblivious to it.
Well, oh gosh, that is such a whole podcast right there. That really is. Like, what are your chores? What are mine? What do you expect from me exactly? Like, what? Because my parents did it this way, and I'm not going to tell you what they did. I'm just going to expect you to know that that's the right way to do it. Like,
yep. So that was you had your friend over. But the thing is, when you're in a relationship, for those people who are starting to get one, it's good to set up a framework where you're both on the same page. It's like, I'll take care of this. How would you want to play? This is what I love doing. This is what I don't love doing. Does your stuff fit mine? How does it work? It's okay to talk about the stuff, even the nitty-gritty stuff, like taking the trash out. It sounds so simple, but I mean, relationships have ended because of this stuff.
Oh, yes. Yes. No, it's true. Just having the groundwork is so important. And also I think being able to be flexible when situations arise, like someone is hurt or they're sick and like, maybe this isn't like a short sickness. This is like a long-term thing. Things are going to shift. And you might've been the guy who's like, cool, I get to take the trash out and I do these couple of chores and that's it. And now it's like all on you. That's really difficult to process. So just being flexible in your relationship. But anyway, let's go back to codependency and just talk more about whatever you want to say. Just talk all about the codependencies.
First of all, as I said, codependency starts in our families usually. So for those of you who have not done any work yet, because many people have, but a lot of people haven't, it's worth looking back at your upbringing through that wonderful 2020 hindsight experience. You can actually see what really happened. It was interesting. I was talking to my brother recently, who's younger than me, and he left home after I did. And we've been talking because my dad passed away recently after a long. He was 95. It was a long time coming. So it was sad, but not grief stricken. I've done a lot of work about my parents for the last 15, 20 years anyway. So I have a much healthier relationship with myself with them. But the thing is, my brother was sharing stuff that he's not complete with about views about my dad that I totally forgotten about because I'd already healed it. Yeah. And so that awareness, it's interesting to see how he relates to the world different from the way I relate to the world. So even though we're from the same family, for me, it's like I've done not the work, but I've done enough work to see the world through a different lens. So I'm more accepting what is and also being more at peace with what is versus having that trigger response to things, which he still has.
Mm-hmm.
And so that recognition is for all of us, is that we can do the work, whatever that work is for us, that heals those wounds inside. Because if we look back with 2020 vision at our parents and see them as human beings, not the gods that we thought they were when we were 4 years old, but as human beings, and notice the patterns. You know, if you look back and never actually face the fact that maybe your dad was, I don't know, a workaholic, or maybe he was always traveling, so you felt abandoned by him.
Yeah.
Or maybe your mother was always like stuffing her emotions and wasn't speaking her truth. When you start to become aware of those things, you start looking at your own life and go, okay, so if that's happening there, is that true about me? Is there something about me I'm still doing based on that? Because if it is, you say, I don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version, but basically we can change that wiring. So we're not carrying that belief anymore.
Right.
We can be free. And that really does free up the codependency, because codependency, I've talked about these patterns, that they do tend to be passed along. It's a behavioral hereditary pattern, because I know my parents learned it from their parents and their parents before them, because none of them were doing this work. I mean, the truth is, I'm the first generation in my family is doing this work, which isn't necessarily wonderful. It's just the fact is that I didn't want to keep doing the same patterns.
Yeah, you're just healing. I love the term that's been also going around is just ancestral trauma. You're healing ancestral trauma. And when I think about that too, I think about just our DNA and how far that trauma has been passed down from generations and generations. I do this thing called muscle testing. Have you heard of this? Okay. So my girlfriend is trained in it, and she and I have been working on things with ancestral trauma with me. Apparently I have a lot of inherited trauma from my family.
Ooh, okay.
And I was one of her first, people that she's ever worked on that had so much inherited trauma. And I'm not surprised. And it's been interesting to release that, but also like what comes up and like what my, the muscle testing is saying. And to then talk to some of these family members, because I don't actually have that much family left, but to talk to them and sort of, I have an old book that was put together of my last name is Brubaker. So it's like of our Swiss family. And it was incredible to start reading it and start correlating some of the ancestral trauma that I'm going through and what happened to them. And one of the strangest things too, and this just goes to show you, like, you're carrying DNA from people that you never, ever met, and you're trying to heal it in this lifetime. One of the things that I've always wanted to do is get my doctorate. I've always wanted to be Dr. Brubaker. And I knew that we had some doctors and some scientists in like the immediate family, but it went all the way back to like 5 generations. Like, we've only been doctors. And I'm like, well, no wonder I want that name, because it's my family. Like, that's all they were. They're like, you're either a scientist or you're a doctor. You probably have your doctorate if you're a scientist. So you're going to have that title. And it was something very deep in me that was really following me around since I was like in high school. I'm like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor, but not like a medical doctor. I always thought I would be a psychologist. And so I would be Dr. Brubaker. And it just, when I finally was able to like release that, it was so empowering, because I'm like, I don't actually want to go to school and do that. Like, I love school and I would go to school for the rest of my life, but I didn't want to do it. I love the way that I do it with the podcast, and I do it in just life. But it was so interesting what we are carrying, whether we remember it or we don't, it is in us. So if you are in this lifetime and you're, like, I need to do the quote, the work, which is true. However, that vibrates for you, like, do the work, look in your past, look at your parents, grandparents, great-parents, great-great-grandparents, if you can, and see what's going on for them, because chances are there is some kind of ripple effect that has affected you. And it's just, I don't know, if you really want, for me, like, I'm such a hippie, but like, if you want to like really release that karma, you can, and you can help them. And they're probably like, their souls are just like, thank you. I appreciate that.
There is something poetic about being the end of the line, saying, okay, that paradigm stops here, I'm going to change it.
I actually am the end of my line, by the way. Literally, I am the end of the Brubaker line for the 2 brothers that came here from Switzerland. I'm the last. Wow. So technically, I am really healing some stuff for them. So thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, my niece is the last in our line. So, because I'm and kids, my brother has one daughter. So
yeah,
she's the last of the line, so to speak, at this point.
Yeah.
Whatever that's worth. Although the thing is, the thing is, for my heritage is interesting because I'm third generation English, and my dad changed his last name before he got married. So I'm only the first generation. I'm only third generation English, and I'm the first generation born with my last name.
Okay.
My dad changed his name before he got married. And but the thing is, because my history is Eastern European Jewish, so I'm actually definitely a member of the tribe, the MOTs as we call us, and basically I have 3 of the main houses in my history.
Wow.
So I've got Levi and Cohen and Solomon's, which translate back to the original families.
Oh wow!
And it's interesting because growing up in England and growing up after, I say third generation, some of my great grandparents came over from Eastern Europe, and my parents were born in England. There was a shame about the name. He changed the name to Selby which is a town in Yorkshire, was a choice to, although he denied it when I confronted him with it. I was going through a lot of healing and family stuff in my master's program. That I said, it seems like because the name changed a few times in the lineage, mother's name different from grandparents, my father's mother's maiden name different from her parents. Like it changed several times. I said, it seemed like we were trying to avoid the lineage, like just to hide the Jewishness from our family, from the world. And he denied that, of course, but I'm like, yeah, but I don't think differently. My dad's name before Selby was Solomon's, which is not a bad name, just that it's very clearly Jewish. But my grandmother's name on that side was Lewis, which came over from Levi traditionally. My mother's name is Carson, it came from Cohen. So all these names are in the family. Yeah. But recognizing that there was a pattern in there. And it's funny what came up to me yesterday morning, I was thinking about it, is that I almost want to go back to one of those names to like drop them, even though because the name I was born with, but it's not my lineage in that name, which is like, even though I know ultimately I don't have to worry about any of that stuff, really, it's really superfluous. It's about the truth of who I feel I am. And cool. that's the thing about lineage for me, is that having my book published, and part of that is that leaving a lasting mark in the world that's positive. I've got over 1,000 videos on YouTube, which isn't like a major mark, but it's still a lot of teachings which I feel will live beyond me, which is kind of like, okay, I'm leaving my mark. I'm making my stand in the world, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I think about that too. I really have thought about that a lot recently too. Just you are leaving a mark that will last forever. And we're so different than any of the past generations because you're able to let it live on the internet forever. And it's just so cool. I have loved talking to you, and you're going to be so back because I just think you're great. So
so easy to talk to you. You're great to have a conversation with. Some loving
likewise. Tell people how they can find you, and also all of your information will be in the show notes. But for people listening, how can they find you?
So I made it easy for most people, rather than having fancy branding, just my name. So if you go to my website, it's my name, which is barryselby.com. You can find most of my stuff's on my website. It's been revamped, but it's not quite where I want it to be. So you can find your way around it, but it'll be prettier soon.
Okay.
But on social media, I use Barry Selby on every platform. So LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, Clubhouse. On Instagram, it got changed because my account got hacked. So now the real Barry Selby, because that's the real one on Instagram. YouTube is Barry Selby. Said there's over 1,000 videos there. If you want to watch my stuff for free, just go to youtube.com/Barry Selby. And on Facebook, I'm Barry Selby. On my business page is Barry Selby, the author, because I wrote a book.
Perfect. I love the book. I want to read the book now. Well, thank you so much, Barry. This has been awesome. And you're going to be back, as I've said, like 15 times, just to really drive it home.
Okay, I'll come plan my calendar accordingly. Okay. But thank you, Jacqueline, for having me on the podcast. It's been a lot of fun chatting, catching up. So thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Remember, sharing is caring. Make sure to rate the podcast and leave a review. We really rely on this to help get the podcast out there. Also, make sure to watch the video version on YouTube at That Girl the Podcast.